is The Awakening, Black Women United. I am your host, Sherry Danny. Subscribe to get this channel to 500 subs, like, share and comment. Have black voters begun to drift towards Trump? Is Biden's re-election at risk? These are the questions pulsating through the political sphere today. The New York Times, in collaboration with Siena College, conducted a poll with findings that suggest a significant shift in black voters' preferences. And if you think this doesn't send ripples of concern through the Democratic camp, think again. The poll paints a picture that's more than just worrisome for the Democratic strategists. It's a red flag, a warning that the solid ground they once thought they stood on might be eroding beneath their feet. It's a shift that could potentially threaten Biden's re-election. But what exactly is this shift? Well, it's an unexpected drift of black voters towards Trump. Surprising, isn't it? The very demographic that has historically been a stronghold for the Democrats is showing signs of a shift. And it's not just a slight tilt. It's enough to make the Democrats sit up and take notice. The poll shows that 1 in 5 black voters now say they'll support a third-party candidate come November. Biden's failure to consolidate his victorious 2020 support has left him narrowly trailing Trump. Yes, you heard it right. The likely Republican nominee, Trump, is leading with 39% against Biden's 37%. 17% support an unnamed third-party candidate. When 7 candidates are specified by name, Trump's lead inches up to 3 percentage points, 37% to 34%, with independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at the top of the third-party candidates at 10%. In my opinion, African American women should hold their votes and not vote for either Trump or Biden. In the words of Dick Gregory, never vote for the lesser of two evils. Do not allow people like Roland Martin to bully you into voting like your ancestors. It is time for African American women to find a new strategy and to put them and their black children first. Voting Democrat has gotten African American women with dead children and forgotten Democratic cities drowned in poverty. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris do not care about African American women and children. They have taken your after-school programs and field houses and given them to illegal South Americans. Illegal South Americans are committing crimes that your black sons are murdered by the police for. Now, this isn't just a simple shift in preferences, it's a clear indication of an evolving political landscape. And the Democrats, they're not just watching from the sidelines, they're acknowledging the shift and the potential impact it could have on Biden's re-election. They're aware of the work they need to do to regain their footing. This is The Awakening, Black Women United. I am your host, Sherry Danny. Subscribe to get this channel to 500 subs, like, share and comment. As Biden's allies acknowledge they have their work cut out for them, the president's standing with this crucial constituency remains in question. Will they be able to turn the tide, or is this the beginning of a major political shift? Only time will tell. Is Biden losing the support of his stalwart bases? This is a question that's been echoing in the halls of political punditry lately, and the answer seems to be a resounding yes. Recent polling from USA Today and Suffolk University paints a picture of a fraying coalition, with key segments of Biden's base showing alarming signs of drift. Hispanic voters, traditionally a strong contingent of Democratic support, are now showing increased favor towards Donald Trump. The same trend is evident among young voters, a demographic that once rallied behind Biden's promises of change and progress. But perhaps the most startling revelation comes from the black community. 1 in 5 black voters, according to the same poll, now say they'll support a third-party candidate come November. That's a significant shift from the broad support Biden enjoyed from this demographic during his victorious 2020 campaign. The reasons for this shift are varied and complex, but they indicate a growing dissatisfaction with the status quo and a longing for substantive change. Biden's inability to consolidate his previous support has left him narrowly trailing Trump, with the likely Republican nominee leading 39% to 37%. An unnamed third-party candidate garners a considerable 17% support. When specific candidates are named, Trump's lead increases slightly to 3 percentage points, with independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr. emerging as the top third-party candidate with 10% support. This fragmentation of the Democratic base poses a significant challenge for Biden. The upcoming election is no longer a two-horse race. but a complex political battlefield with multiple players vying for influence. The rise of third-party candidates indicates a growing desire for alternatives to the traditional power structures, and this could dramatically alter the political landscape. As Biden's support dwindles, the upcoming election promises to be a nail-biter. The Fraying Coalition is a sign of shifting political sands, and it remains to be seen whether Biden can rally his base or if new political alliances will emerge from the fray. Either way, the stakes have never been higher and the outcome is anything but certain. This is The Awakening. Black Women United, I'm your host, Sherry Danny. Subscribe to get this channel to 500 subs, like, share and comment. What are the reparations for African Americans beyond the LIFT Act? This question has been at the center of many discussions, often sparking intense debate. Senator Kamala Harris has been vocal about her views on race-based policies, emphasizing their potential benefits for the Black community. According to Harris, the LIFT Act, which she supports, will directly benefit Black children, Black families and Black homeowners due to the significant disparities they face. She argues that any policy that benefits Black people will ultimately benefit all of society. In her words, let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. She further elaborates, comparing the proposed policy to efforts to increase the number of women in the workforce. Harris suggests that lifting the economic status of a demographic, be it women or Black people, lifts up the economic status of families, communities, society, and the country as a whole. However, this stance has not been without controversy. Harris faced significant backlash, most notably from self-described members of the American Descendants of Slavery, or ADOS movement. This growing movement of Black Americans advocates for a separate policy agenda and reparations specifically for descendants of slavery in the US. The members of ADOS argue that generalized policies, such as the LIFT Act, do not adequately address the unique and historical injustices faced by Black people in America. The controversies surrounding Harris's views and the backlash from the ADOS movement highlight the complex and often contentious nature of discussions around reparations and race-based policies. It underscores the fact that while policies like the LIFT Act may be well-intentioned, they might not necessarily address the specific needs and demands of all segments within the Black community. While the debate over reparations continues, the impact of such policies on the Black community and society at large remains to be seen. How do Biden's open border policies affect Black Americans? That's the question we're diving into today. When we talk about sanctuary cities like New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., they've historically been eager to welcome immigrants. These cities have prided themselves on their open-armed approach, signaling their virtue to the world. But recent changes have seen an influx of migrants that has strained their social welfare programs. This strain has led to these cities calling for a state of emergency and demanding more funds from the federal government. Now, you might be wondering why this matters to Black Americans. Well, when resources are stretched thin, it's often marginalized communities that feel the pinch first. The social welfare programs that some Black Americans rely on are the same ones being burdened by the influx of migrants. This isn't about pitting one group against another, but about understanding the real-world implications of policy decisions. Moreover, there's the concern of job competition. With an increase in low-skilled labor, some Black Americans worry about being crowded out in the job market. As the saying goes, when the pie doesn't grow but more people want a slice, someone inevitably gets less. It's not just about economics, though. There's also a question of representation. As demographics shift, so does political power. Some Black Americans worry that as their proportion of the population decreases, so too will their influence over policies that directly affect their lives. In my opinion, African American women should hold their votes and not vote for either Trump or Biden. In the words of Dick Gregory, never vote for the lesser of two evils. Do not allow people like Roland Martin to bully you into voting like your ancestors. It is time for African American women to find a new strategy and to put them and their Black children first. Voting Democrat has gotten African American women with dead children and forgotten Democratic cities drowned in poverty. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris do not care about African American women and children. They have taken your after-school programs and field houses and given them to illegal South Americans. Illegal South Americans are committing crimes that your black sons are murdered by the police for. As the debate over open borders and their impact on black Americans continues, the need for strategic voting becomes all the more critical. The stakes are high, and the future of black communities hangs in the balance. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about who's in office, but what they do when they get there. Why is strategic voting important for black Americans? Let's dive into that. Strategic voting is essentially about making your vote count in the most impactful way possible. Rather than simply casting a ballot for a preferred candidate, strategic voting involves a careful consideration of the broader political landscape. It's about understanding the weight of your vote and using it to influence outcomes that will directly benefit your community. For black Americans, this is particularly crucial. Historically, the black community has been underrepresented in politics, leading to a lack of policies that directly address their unique challenges. This is why strategic voting is not just an option, it's a necessity. It's about leveraging the power of the collective vote to shape policies that can bring about real, tangible change in their communities. Consider the upcoming election, where the stakes are especially high for black Americans. With issues like racial justice, economic inequality, and police reform on the line, the need for strategic voting is more critical than ever. Strategic voting means not just voting for a candidate based on party affiliation or charisma, but scrutinizing their policy positions, their track record, and their commitment to issues that matter to the black community. It's about holding these candidates accountable and ensuring they uphold their promises to enact policies that will positively impact black Americans. It's also about recognizing the power of third-party candidates. While they may not always have the same visibility as candidates from major parties, their impact can be significant. They can shift the discourse, push for progressive policies, and even influence the stance of major party candidates. Strategic voting is a powerful tool. It's about understanding the intricacies of the political system and using it to your advantage. It's about making informed decisions that go beyond party lines and personal preferences. As we approach the upcoming election, the power of the black vote and the need for strategic voting cannot be overstated. This is The Awakening, Black Women United. I am your host, Sherry Darney. Subscribe to get this channel to 500 subs, like, share and comment. Black women do not vote for Biden or Trump. Stay home.